I'm going to share with you some amazing animal stories, and I promise you, they will amaze you. For over 2 decades, I've been an animal communicator, and I've talked with thousands of animals. I've personally seen and experienced some incredible things with them. With their humans' permission, I will be sharing my animal clients' inspiring stories of how we healed them back to health, cured them of unwanted behaviors, and helped make their lives with their people even better. These are amazing animal stories.
The amazing Coryelle Kramer. How are you today, young lady?
Fabulous. How are you?
I'm glad you're well. I was a little concerned about you last week, and because we ended up playing the very first episode. So if you caught that the second time, that was really good because she was, as they say, under the weather a little bit, which happens this time of year.
Yeah, and we got to explain. It wasn't the vid. It was, it was a head cold. So I got a little happy with the hot weather we had for a hot minute. So I went out with shorts and flip-flops on because I live in New Mexico. Got a chill and I got a head cold. That's it. I'm fine now. No sniffles, no sneezing. We're all good.
And that means that you're going to be working today. And we're going to put you to work to talk about what we're going to talk about today, which is the animal dynamics, and also a couple of stories that you've helped a couple of folks, a couple of animals, and a couple of people get straightened away just a little bit.
And it really was. This was really one of the first sessions I did. One of my first animal dynamic sessions that I really did include what was going on with the person, because it did have a huge impact about what was going on. So the amazing animal stories, what are they? Basically, the amazing animal stories are the work that I've been doing for the last almost 3 years now, where I am taking the animals' stories, and because I write down copious notes when I'm doing my sessions now. And this is because there's so much, I knew that there was so much incredible stuff that was going to be happening. This work was so powerful that I was like, I have to write this down, because if I don't, it's going to get lost. So the amazing animal stories are basically stories of what was going on with the animal, what we did, and the results, and what they're like today. So it's pretty incredible. So what I want to say is, for this particular story, usually my people don't mind using their names and using their animals' names. I took it upon myself this time to change the names of everyone, the people and the animals. This is for their own security and safety. I just felt like I was responsible enough to do that. So all the names have been changed, the animals and the people's names. And you'll find out why later on. It'll become clear later on. So this is Amazing Animal Stories number 4. And what we have here is we have 2 dogs by the name of Nickel and Dime. So the original reason that their person reached out to me was this. This is in her own words. I had a session with you a few years back for Dime. I now have a female, Nickel, and going through a separation, I worry about them. I want to make sure they are okay. She has to what was going on was she had to physically pick up Nickel and bring her into doggy daycare out of the car. She was not leaving the car. She was not leaving her person's side. And sometimes she couldn't even get Nickel out of the car in order to go to doggy daycare. And she loved doggy daycare. So that was one thing. The other thing was about Nickel was she needed to crate Nickel when she was leaving the house. But when she leaves the house, she hears Nickel is howling. Now, as soon as she was telling me this, and we were doing an intake through a possibility call that I do before I start working with people, I felt into it. And instinctively, intuitively, I got that Nickel was feeling like the crate was keeping her from saving her person. I didn't know quite what was going on. I knew that we were going to be doing work together. We worked together for 7 weeks. So I knew I was going to delve into that, but it was a very strange, unusual thing to have. Like she just felt like that crate was keeping her from being able to save her person. So what I'm going to do now, Kevin, is if you could show photo number 1 and photo number 2. These are before this is Nickel. This is before we started working together. So as you can see by her body language, by the way she is, she's not relaxed in the car. She's very tense. She's very nervous. And the person she's looking at is her person. Her person's in the passenger seat. So when I immediately saw this picture, I knew something was not right. Like she has this overwhelming feeling of panic. So as you can see, it's obvious on her face. She's got stress and strain on her face. You can see it. She's not happy, relaxed, carefree. And so then the next photograph is going to be Dime before we started working together. So Dime is male. He was 6 years old at the time. Dime, what was going on with Dime was that he was extremely sensitive to noises. Any kind of noises going on outside the house, he would freak out and he would bark. And he'd howl and he'd try to get to the noise. The noises were driving him crazy. And so he's super sensitive to noises. He was very concerned about his person and Nickel, because they were very close. They are very close. They're still alive. And he had a thing about people wearing certain kind of shoes in the house. Now I've been doing this for a hot minute. I've never come across that. So I knew it was going to be interesting, whatever it was. So that was his thing: shoes, noises, and concern for his person.
He just looks like he's unhappy.
I think he was very unsure.
Guarded, I think is a better word.
I think, yes. At the time before we started working together, he was very unsure. He was very on the guard. Yes. And he was very confused, and not secure in the situation. So this is actually some other things that she wrote. The woman that I worked with wrote about the dog. So she said, "I worry they miss their human dad. They don't have any contact with him right now. We left the house, staying someplace temporary, and we'll be moving again." And they did. They had moved by the time we started working together. The hubby and the wife were separated. They're staying with friends, like I said, and then they were going to move before we started working together. She doesn't want the dogs to see the ex at the time. She is officially separated for a month, but before that, things were very, very tense in the home. How tense, I did not know until we started working together. He refused to leave the house, so he lives on one side, she lives on the other. And this decision was made in April, but the woman was in therapy for a year to get up the mental strength to ask for a divorce. So this had been going on for a while. There was a lot of tension all over the place. Okay, so you can put down the photograph of Dime.
Yes, I am.
Thank you, sir. So what was done? So immediately, just so you know, their dynamics. Dime's dynamics were he was an energetic. So the dynamics are their personalities. There's usually one that's very, very much driving the bus at all times. But Dime had an interesting thing. Dime was an energetic shifter. So what would happen was that he had a little bit of all the other dynamics in him, but the energetic was really the one that was. Now I'll tell you.
Hold on. I was just trying to set it up. Sorry.
Okay, that's all right. That's okay. So so he is energetic shapeshifter, and his energetic shapeshifter was in the minus spectrum. There is the plus spectrum, there's the minus spectrum of all the dynamics. When they're in the plus spectrum, happy, joyous, and free, they're living their life and everything's cool. When they're in the minus spectrum, usually that means there's some kind of unwanted behaviors going on. Nickel. Nickel was a sensory and a rule breaker. So what you have here is you have two dynamics that are very sensitive. The energetic is sensitive to the energies of people, places, things, and situations, and they can get very wonked out very easily. Then you have the sensory, and the sensory needs space. They need to do things in their own time. You can't rush them. You can't try to make them do anything. If they're not ready to do something, they're going to freak out. Then you have the rule breaker. So the rule breaker is kind of like the innovator. They like things when you think out of the box, and they like things when you change them up. But the thing about the rule breaker is the rule breaker in the minus spectrum can be so stubborn, so obstinate, so set in their ways, too grounded, that there's absolutely no flexibility whatsoever, which was happening to Miss Nickel, because with Miss Nickel, she absolutely refused to get out of the car. She's not a tiny dog. We're not talking a Chihuahua. Okay. She's a big dog, and she had to get pulled out and picked up and brought into daycare. Once she was in daycare, she was fine, but getting her out of the car was a hot mess.
She didn't like getting out of the car because she wanted to be with her person.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
okay.
Go ahead.
No, and I was just going to say, and animals, as you know, they catch the emotional content of what's going on in the house, and there was a lot of stuff that was going on at the house at the time.
Yes, there was. And the thing of it was, though, I was getting not the full picture. And again, I'll go into this more in a little bit, why I wasn't getting the full picture from her. And it wasn't anything she was doing wrong, but it was just, I wasn't getting the full picture, and it was so interesting. So I was led to believe they had separated. There was a little tension. That was it. Okay. So it was just interesting the way that it developed. Now, this is one of the reasons why, again, I'm going to say this was one of the first dynamics sessions that I did, where I had to bring the people in and start working with the people and helping them. Because in helping them, we eventually also help the animals on top of doing the other things. But it was very, very interesting. It's a full picture. When your animal has unwanted behaviors, and this is why I don't do single sessions anymore. I can't do this in one single solitary 60-minute session. I worked with this woman for anywhere between 2 to 3 hours every session for 7 weeks. 7 weeks we did that once a week. So that's a lot of hours. I can't do it in 60 minutes. It's absolutely impossible. And I would have, especially in this is a really good example of how if I did limit myself like that, I would be doing a disservice, not only to the woman, but to the animals. And I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. I won't do it. So we went over their issues. So what was done? Okay, over the 7-week period of time, I first do what I always do, which is a healing intensive. It is at the time a 3-level healing. It is the physical that I scan with my empathic abilities. It's the chakras, and it was the auric field that gets stuck with shadows from stuck energy that comes in, and then it can cause unwanted behaviors. So I did with you, actually, I did a video on my healing modality. And that was I think we were at the time 4 levels. Now I'm at 5 levels. So now I do the soul level and heal it from any karmic gunk. And I do the emotional body. So strong emotions are stuck in this field that, especially when they're negative emotions and there's a lot of them, they can get stuck and bounce around. So if somebody wants to know more about that modality, they can just look on my YouTube and just look for healing, and you should see my that where I go more in depth into my shadow healing. So we did a healing intensive on both of them. And I always ask consent. Why? Why do I ask consent? Before I do anything to any animal, I ask consent. Whether it's talking to them, whether it's sending them healing, whether it is doing a healing intensive on them, whether it is giving them flower essences, I always ask consent because animals are assumed upon a lot. Just assume upon. We just do, we throw a saddle on a horse and just assume that he wants to ride. And a lot of times maybe he does or she does, but sometimes maybe they don't feel like it, or they're not feeling well, or whatever, or we just assume, slap a leash on my dog, take him from a walk or a run. Maybe he doesn't feel like running that day. So we assume upon animals a lot. So what I do is I ask consent, and it generates a better feeling from the animal. They feel seen, they feel heard, they feel like I'm getting them and I respect them, and that's what I want. I want them to know I respect them. So that's why I ask for consent, because I cannot do anything to any animal, or I can't do anything to any person without their consent. I mean, I can't make anybody do anything. I can't make an animal do anything. And if I tried to make them do something, it could be detrimental to them. Make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it's also common courtesy, and it's nice because they're beings too, and they
That's
deserve
right.
to be, and talked to and treated nicely.
That's right. So I did a healing intensive. I gave their person animal dynamic touches to do for their dynamics. I also gave them chakra touches. Chakra touches are something that I developed that aligns, that are different, touching the chakras, the 7 levels of the body, on the spine, along the spine, and along the skull in a certain way. Certain patterns in certain motions in certain speeds will help align the chakras if an animal is in distress. So what I do is I channeled, specifically for these animals, I channeled different patterns that I felt into their body, and I felt that their body would be receptive to it. And I'll go into those also and why those are important a little later on. We gave them flower essences. Okay. And then I gave them also animal dynamic words and tones of voices to use when she speaks to her animals. Why is this important? Words have power. They do. If you call yourself stupid, you're eventually going to think that you're stupid and not smart. If you call yourself brilliant, you're eventually going to understand that you are brilliant, and you're going to see your brilliance. So words have power. Animals understand this because they're telepathic. So what happens is that when you use a certain word and phrase, just think about it. If somebody talks to you nicely and says, "Hi, Kevin, how you doing? So great to see you. You're looking good today. You're looking really, really good. Your mustache looks good. You got that black, looks great on you, man. It really does. It brings out your eyes." You like that. People are not, you notice, people are noticing something about you that's nice. And they're not BSing you. They're saying, "Oh, wow, thank you. That really, you noticed that. That really means a lot to me." And the tone of voice is also important, because you cannot speak to an energetic and a sensory in the same way that you can a direct and demanding one, or a rule breaker. They're very excited. They're about adventure. They're like, "Come on, let's go." If I try to do that tone of voice with my girl Sacred, who is 1,000% sensory, she would go running for the hills and not come back for 2 hours. It's too much. It overloads them. The tone of voices are important. The words are important, because when we find words and phrases that you can call your animal that bounce them up and make them feel good. And I'll give you examples of what I did for nickel and dime in a little bit. But it really does make a difference, because when somebody calls you a nice word or something, you're like, ooh, thank you. That feels so good in my body. Makes sense?
Yep. Yep. I
Oh,
did have a question for you though.
okay.
Have you ever, when when you're asking permission of an animal, has any of them ever said, "Nah, you know what? I don't really want to talk to you. Just leave me alone."
They have not really said no. They have been not sure. So what I'll do is I'll explain to them who I am, why I'm connecting to them, what my job is, what they can expect from me, so that they can understand and say, "Oh, you know something? It's okay. I feel safe with you. I do want to talk to you now." So I've had animals that have blocked me even before I even tried to connect to them. And what I had to do was I had to kind of like, just talk to nothing, hoping that something was getting through. But I haven't had an animal say to me, "No, I don't want to talk to you."
Well, that's good because, and I would imagine that they are looking forward because if I were an animal and I considered my human to be deaf and dumb because could not understand anything that I was trying to say, to have somebody actually communicate with them would
Mhm.
be a really unique experience for them, I would think.
Yeah. Oh, I totally and completely agree. 100%. It is a very unique experience. It's wonderful. It's amazing. That's why this work is so powerful.
Yeah. Well, and it's because you're getting buy-in from the subjects more so than anybody they've ever met.
Well said.
Well, you're welcome. But that's true. By the way, you looking good in black too.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. So, some words that I use for nickel. Um, Easy breezy. This is what I told her person to use words and phrases like this. Now, you can take these words and combine them and switch them up. So, easy breezy, light girl, sassy pants, breezy girl. So you could say easy light girl. You could say Miss Sassy Breezy Pants. You can twist them up because it's what my fierce girl, strong, brave. Because what it is that we were trying to remind Nickel that she was capable of things and that she was strong. She needed to hear that. And, for dime, we use words like, happy boy and, nice, but, I can't remember. I think I wrote them down somewhere else, but I'll look it up. But we use words and phrases that told him that he was capable of being able to, stand a little noise without freaking out, you know, big big brave boy, things like that there that were able to shore him up so that he understands and he remembers, oh yeah, she's telling me I'm a big brave boy. I'm a big brave boy, you know. So we did that for them. For the woman, I did a dialogue, and this was probably about 5 weeks in. We did a dialogue about doing a releasing ceremony for her, for the husband. Smudging the house. Why is that important? The energetic animal is super sensitive to the energies of people, places, things, places, and situations. So it's important, if you have an energetic, dynamic animal, it's important to clear the house as much as possible. And also for the sensory, because they're sensitive to the vibrations of things. So, you want to make sure that you clean the house. So we did that. Um and then I felt into it for her and we did a bath, and I wanted her to remineralize her body during the full moon, things like that there. So what happened was that when I did when I did the healing intensive for Nickel, she immediately, good for you, Dawn. She immediately started to feel better. She says, I feel better now in my body, but I'm still not feeling so great in my mind. I worry a lot. I worry for my person. I worry for Dime. I worry for me. I worry. I don't like not knowing what's going to happen. I'm just feeling lost. So because of that, I got her the following flower essences. Honeysuckle is about letting go of the past. She was having a hard time integrating what happened in the past, and she was carrying it with her like Samsonite luggage to her present and her future. Okay. Scleranthus, Scleranthus. Scleranthus is for emotional, mental, and physical balance. Sweet chestnut is for distress. Now, I don't give sweet chestnut to a lot of animals. This is really only for animals who have been through some kind of severe abuse or trauma. So I was surprised when I got this, but it was also a little hint to me about something. So I kept it on the shelf though, because again, I was working with the woman. She was telling me things. I thought she was telling me the whole thing, and it turns out there was more to it. Elm is for calm. Rock rose for panic, and walnut for change. I gave them dosage, I gave them duration, and she started to put them on the flower essences. Okay. This is important information. And again, I'm not using her name. Okay. I had a session with her in in session 3. We were talking about something. We were talking about Nickel, and we were talking about how she just doesn't feel safe, and she doesn't feel comfortable, and she doesn't feel confident and certain. And what happens then is a light goes off in her mind. Now, I don't know. I'm not a psychiatrist. Okay. I don't know what was going on. I don't know why, but all of a sudden she opened up and she had forgotten all this information. She didn't forget about it. She just wasn't sure, and putting the pieces together of what happened and what was happening to her dogs. So this is what happened. Suddenly she remembers, and she tells me that her husband told her that now I'm sharing this with her consent. She then tells me that her husband told her that he was going to kill himself the day that the pod came. He was reported by his coworkers when he told them because of his job, and they had a duty to report it. He was in a certain kind of job that if they did not report it, they could be liable. And he did something, they could be liable. He was then hospitalized. And before he went to the hospital, he met her, the wife, to see Nickel and Dime. And he was a total wreck. He was laying on the floor with the dogs. He was hugging the dogs. He was crying with the dogs. So they had been sleeping separately, okay, in 2 rooms, in 2 parts of the house. In the middle part of the house was a room, and in this room was a knife. Now, what was happening was that he was having, they're not sure, there's conflicting reports, whether he's homicidal and suicidal or just suicidal. Okay, because he was denying that he told somebody about the knife, and he told somebody what he wanted to do with the knife. That person told the wife then, told the doctor. It was just, and then he recanted it. So basically what was happening was this husband, okay, was going for, we're not sure, was he going for a knife, was he not going for a knife, but he was having these thoughts. Now, animals, I'm going to say this again and again, animals are telepathic. And if you are sending out all this hate, all this fear, all this worry, all this concern, all this craziness, your animals can be affected by that. Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, he was having um episodes that, and oftentimes you hate to even contemplate it, but oftentimes that ends up in a murder suicide.
Right. And he was telling, it wasn't just one person he was telling a lot of people about the knife. So it's not like it's just one person, and he told multiple people, and this is why. Then it start now, what happened was, when she said this to me, she said, she also, hang on, I want to make sure I get her words because it's really, really important. She said, I don't know. Now, I don't know if this may have anything to do with Nichols' issues and Dime's issues. So she wasn't making the correlation. She also told me, I had forgotten most of this, she said. Now, her mind blocked out some of this so that it just didn't occur to her until the third session in. The third session in, that's 3 weeks, that this didn't occur to her. So it's like, it's incredible how the mind will block things out, but it's so important that I work with the whole package, the people and the animals, because this was absolutely 110% the reason why Nickel and Dime were having these issues. Now, she also told me, previously to telling me this, she told me that this happened, this all of a sudden, her not getting out of the car happened 4 months ago. And this was when all the interesting stuff was going down. So, said that was session 3. Session 4 was a week later. These are the celebrations. Every single session after the first session, I always do celebrations, because we have a tendency to belittle the good stuff and blow up the bad stuff. So I want to celebrate this, because I want to send this to the dogs and let them know you're doing great. Okay? The woman started the drops the day before the session. And even though she said, even though I had to fight her, I took Nickel to doggy daycare a few times this week, meaning she kind of got out of the car. She left her out of the crate the entire day for Thanksgiving, and she did great. She didn't bite herself, lick herself, nothing. She was doing great. And they seemed to really love the touches. So what I got was, we needed to get through that first combo for Nickel, and then she had another combo. See, hang on a second.
is is that Alexa?
Yes. Alexa, Echo.
Shut
Stop.
up.
Thank you. I usually unplug her. I forgot.
That's all right.
Anyway, so this was what was happening. The way the flower essences work is, it's kind of like an onion. So you want to get to that first layer, but there's more layers underneath. You need to get through that first layer, because that's the cover, that's the shell. And you need to make sure you get those flower essences into them first. And then you can peel the layers off. And then the layers come off way more easier. Okay? So we needed her to be on those flower essences to get her just stress down, to get her fear down, to get her insecurity down, to get her, the letting go of the past and all this other kind of, her overwhelm down. So the second one for Nickel was Larch, which is for confidence. Mimulus was for known fears: fear of the past, fear of loud noises, fear of men, fear of shoes. They had a fear of shoes. Star of Bethlehem, because she was grieving. She was grieving the loss of her old life, and she was grieving the loss of the human, the husband, even though he was an interesting human being. You know, he didn't hurt the dogs. He loved the dogs, but he was just in such a mental state. And she was grieving the fact that she couldn't help him. Rock water is for flexibility, to become a little bit more flexible, getting her out of the car. Wild rose is for resignation and apathy. So basically, wild rose is kind of like what I call the Eeyore essence. Why bother? What's the big deal? Who cares anyway? You know, that's apathy. So for Dime, we got him on a fear combo. Mimulus, known fears. Aspen for unknown fears. I'm scared. I don't know why. Rock rose for panic. Vervain, because he gets himself worked up. Vervain is for when an animal gets really worked up on themselves. Beech for tolerance. Cherry plum for obsessive behaviors, because he would do the same thing with the shoes. He didn't like the shoes. He didn't like the noise from the shoes. The shoes were driving him crazy. Shoes, shoes, shoes. He would actually run away from people when they came in with certain kinds of shoes on or walked a certain way. And red chestnut to loosen up his concern for his, what he called his girls, which were Dime, which were Nickel, and the woman. So celebrations after session 5, and they were both on the second combo. Nickel got out of the car for the first time. The woman and the person who runs the doggy daycare had a party in the parking lot because Nickel got out of the car. The dogs are getting the Star of Bethlehem and the Larch, and they're both in the drinking water. The woman notices that she's feeling better. She's going through the processes that I gave her to feel, to release, and to step into her new life. And she says that she's feeling more confident in herself, that she's also taking responsibility for her part in the marriage and what went wrong, but not taking on too much. Not taking it all on, just seeing what her part was in it. She was finding her voice, and she was finding her inner strength. The woman recognizes the whole thing with Nickel has made everyone stop and pay attention to what was happening. This is huge. She realized that what was going on with Nickel was and Dime was made her stop and say, wait a minute, something's not right here. That's why I say animals are limited. They cannot write a post-it note and stick it on the refrigerator and tell you what's wrong. They have to do stuff that's in your face because we are human and we go through busy lives and we got busy minds and we don't stop. Her actions made her stop and recognize and get them the help that they needed from me and from others. I showed her different touches that she could do on Nickel's face, and she loved them. She uses the phrase "big boy," big brave boy for Dime, and he's loving it. So that's the celebrations, like a week later. Okay, it might have even been 2 weeks later because I think it was Thanksgiving or the holidays season. So it might have been even 2 weeks later. Chakra touches. Here we go. We did on Nickel, we did the root chakra. Why? Because she was too grounded. She was too set in her ways. The rule breaker was in the minus spectrum. Remember I said that. So when they're in the minus spectrum, the rule breaker is too grounded and too set and has got no flexibility whatsoever. The third chakra. The third chakra is your diaphragm. This is usually a really bad place for everybody. Whenever you feel upset, you usually feel it in your third chakra, or your second chakra, which is at your belly button. You feel the butterflies in your stomach. We did the sixth chakra to connect her to her inner knowing. And we did the seventh chakra to connect her to divine. So that she knows that she is a divine, worthy being of a wonderful, amazing life. For Dime, this is the chakra touches. We did the third chakra for him. Why? Because again, his personal power was being taken away, and he was feeling like he had to protect, overly protect everybody, and he had overly concern for everybody. The third eye and the crown, again, connecting him to his inner knowing, connecting him to divine, so that he knows that everything's well, everything's okay. So, what I wanted to do, I've got, okay. So now what I want to do, can you show 3? Okay, so this is nickel. Now, the reason this is such a great photo, okay, is because she would not leave her person's side. Remember that. She would not go outside and enjoy the yard, not unless her person was out there. And what it was that when she took this picture, she then went inside and Nicole stayed out there almost all day long, all by herself. She was loving it. Okay. So that's Nicole. And that's why that's so huge. She was feeling better in her body. This was probably this was around week 5. So when she got out of the car, this was the huge change. And she was staying by herself more. And then we go to, if you could show 4, please. And then this is Dime. Now, Dime before, you could tell he was a little stressed. He wasn't feeling secure. He was feeling guarded. He was looking guarded. He was looking insecure, not sure, concerned. And now he's much more relaxed. You could see it in his face. He's much more relaxed, calmer, happier. Okay. So celebrations after the last session. Thanks. Celebrations after the last session. Nicole is still getting out of the car. This was a couple of weeks later. She smudged the house. The house feels so much better to her now. She's still doing the chakra touches and the animal dynamic touches. There was a storm the other night, and Dime was relaxed. He would freak out during storms. He would freak out with any noise, but especially storms. So synopsis of what we basically did, okay? Healing intensive, energetic cleansing of the house. We did the flower essences. We did the touches. The woman also got a white noise machine just to make sure that, Dime was feeling better and, helping him also get over the noise sound. And like I said, the flower essences. So there was a lot done in this 7 weeks. So what is going on with them today? No crating. No more crating. She's getting out of the car. Nicole is trusting that her person is safe, and so is she and Dime. Dime is no longer scared of noises and allows people to wear shoes in the house. So, is this a coincidence? No, it's not. It's not rocket science, but it's not a coincidence either. Okay? Those animals were suffering. The person was suffering. And by the end of us working together, she was no longer suffering. So can you show 5? This is them today. I got these pictures yesterday, actually. So 5 is Nicole.
Looks like a nice, relaxed puppy dog.
Yeah, can you show it?
Oh, I'm sorry. That is 5.
It's not up.
Oh, well, maybe I should put it up then, huh? Like that.
Yeah. She's outside. She's laying out. This is we worked together in 2020. 2020. This is almost 2 years that and she's doing fine. So that is Nicole. Now this is a testimonial she wrote. This is her own words. All right. Thank you. This has been great, and it's definitely exceeded my expectations. So I appreciate it very much. I mean, obviously, just having the dialogue with you has been super helpful, but learning some of the touches and giving my dogs the words and affirmations is really helping. It's just the little things that I and what I call it's just the little things and what I call them now. They may seem like just small things to most people, but repeating them over and over and over again really makes a difference. The floral essences, the communication, the touches, the words, the whole 9 yards, all of it has helped. Thank you very much. It's been great, and I won't be letting you go when we need your services again. Can you show Dime, please? In a unicorn's onesie, you know? That says it all.
That looks like a pretty happy dog.
I think I know. They are happy. I spoke to her. I texted her yesterday just to make sure that I could use the story, and I got her consent. And she said, yes, of course you can use the story. And you know, she said to me, she said, thank you so much. You've done so much for us. We're enjoying our house, we're enjoying our new lives. That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about. That's why this work is so incredible. It's changing lives.
Now, are you allowed to talk about the gentleman? What happened to him? Is he just gone away, or?
No, they have contact every once in a while. He's seen the dogs. I don't know necessarily if he comes to the house. But he might. And she says if he gets too negative, she asks him to leave and he leaves. So I hope that the man is getting the help that he needs.
Yep.
Yep. And it sounds like he may be. And but the dogs are doing good, and they no longer get affected by him when he comes. When they see him. Yay.
That just looks like a happy dog. Now, I was just having a thought. She dresses her dogs a lot, in different outfits and stuff. Does that help calm them? Or I know that can, but in this case, it may not, because they were kind of way out there, huh?
She doesn't dress them in a lot. I mean, this one I don't know when this was taken. I think a few weeks ago or something, but it can. There are things called thunder shirts.
Right.
And this is nothing against the thunder shirt. Okay, nothing. Okay, there might be some people who have had great results with thunder shirts. A lot of my clients who have come to me for help with animals who have had fear issues have tried the thunder shirt, and it wasn't able to really help them. What really helped them was, talking about what the situation was, getting that out, and then finding maybe flower essences to help alleviate the fear and the blockages. But there might be some people who have had great results with the thunder shirt. But it's known to, it's when you're this is why a hug is so important to people, because when you hug your nervous system, it's been scientifically proven that it calms down your nervous system. Now, funny enough, not funny, haha, funny, weird, but that's one of the reasons why I believe I read a long time ago. That's one of the reasons why they came up with the straitjacket.
Yeah.
Because that is supposed to calm their nervous system and calm them down. They found that that's why, that was one of the reasons why they invented that lovely invention.
Well, sometimes some of us need a good straight jacket every now and again,
Mhm.
just to kind of calm down and in this busy world that we have.
But hugs are so when you're hugging and you'll notice your breathing regulates. You'll take a sigh maybe. Usually people sigh when they get a hug, and that's a indication your nervous system is calming down. So that's just the amazing story of nickel and dime.
It really is, and it's heartwarming as well because they were the energy that they were being subjected to was tough, and they were scared to death for her, I think, for a period of time, and so they wanted to be there for her all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing what animals will take, in order to be there for their person. This is why they're Christ-like consciousness and unconditional love. They love unconditionally until you do something really asshat, and then they just can't anymore. But it they, they tapped in. They are tapped in. So if you're having strong emotions, negative emotions, okay, and they're overwhelming you, look to your animals, because they might be affected. They could very well be affected, and they could also show you how to get out of it.
That's a big deal too.
Mhm. They're great examples of how to live a happy, free, joyous life, you know, with just taking it easy and just enjoying your life and
Well,
getting out of your own way.
exactly, and I was trying to tell my son this very principle just the other day because they went and got a border collie. Now they also
Right.
have a 4-year-old little girl who has a propensity to scream,
Oh,
and they have a relationship where it is, I mean, and when a 4-year-old girl screams, it's
yes.
very much like a chalkboard, fingers and nails on a chalkboard.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so they have, and the husband and wife, my son and his wife, have got some issues. And so the dog who didn't want to poop outside, one was going to poop in the house. Didn't want to leave. He just felt, and almost felt like the dog was paralyzed with fear, kind of thing, and stuff. So I'm gonna make you work with them, hopefully, and and and
Don't, please don't. Okay. I want people to want to work with me. I want people to be a heck yes, Coryelle. I was going to say something else, but I'm not going to. I want you to be a heck yes. I do not want people to be I'm not really sure. Because I'm going to have you do work.
right.
You know how she got the results she got? If I had just talked to those dogs and she had done nothing, those dogs would not have changed.
She did the work.
She did the work. She did the home plays that I put her through for 7 weeks. She did them. And that's why she got the results she got.
I'll bet you
So,
she's still doing some form of it today.
oh yeah, absolutely. I'm sure she is too. I mean, she did. She texted me she's still doing the touches and things like that there. So that's cool.
Yeah.
And the words. She loves the words.
And if
Um,
somebody's new here, Coryelle, and doesn't know your information, let's get your information out real quick.
so it's this thing over here. It's my name. So it's Coryelle Kramer without a pause in the middle of it. Without a space in the middle of it. So it's CoryelleKramer.com. And really and truly look around the website. Read about me. Read about read some of the interviews that I've done. I was on I was on Dawn's blog. She's got a wonderful blog for her cat Lola, the rescued cat.
Oh, yes.
So look her up. She's a cat blogger and an author extraordinaire, and a beautiful person. And I've worked with her and her cats, Lola and Lexi, forever. Okay. But, read some of the interviews, read about what to expect. I And then if it feels right, send me a link, send me a contact form, use the contact form and send it to me for a possibility call, but only if you're willing to put in the play or the work.
Nothing's for free. You got to do the work.
Only thing free is air.
And
Now
radio.
that's good. And radio.
AM radio anyway. So it's so Coryelle, anything else you'd like to add before we wrap it up for today?
I think I've said all that needed to say. It was an amazing animal story. I thank everybody for watching, for listening, for commenting. Thank you, Dawn, for supporting. Peace. And yeah, I think it's an amazing story, and that's why I don't have to talk. Really, I just tell you what happened, and this is what it is, and it blows your mind every single time because it sure as heck blows mine.
And great story, Coryelle. And it's all true. And the names have been changed to protect the innocent or the just the peoples and animals.
And the
but but I really like I could have swore when you called them Nickel and Dime, I was thinking, that's a great name for a couple of dog mates in the same house with Nickel and Dime. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought so too. I just needed something that if it was too crazy of a name, I wouldn't have remembered. So, and they had very unusual names. So I wanted to make sure we had something good. So I'm glad you approved.
And you didn't screw it up once. Congratulations. Welcome to my world.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank everybody for being here. Working with Coryelle is a pleasure for me, and it's a lot of fun. And she's really dynamic. And she also we just signed a deal where she's going to be on KKNW 1150 AM on the last Friday of the month. Every month. Check it out. It'll be and she's going to do readings and animal communication and talk about what she does and it'll be great fun. And that's KKNW 1150 AM in Seattle. Check them out, 1150kknw.com. And that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I'm excited. Good stuff.
Indeed. Thank you, everybody. You have a great day.